come and see for yourself, or it just might be gone. We'll party till dawn. This night you won't leave alone. We'll make you feel right at home.
Relevant. Well, let's give all of our panelists a warm welcome. Thank you all for joining us today. I'm just going to lead off with a question to Dr. Erica Schwartz. And I know, Erica, that you are doing natural hormones. Can you share with us what's contained in those hormones?
Well, natural hormones, or bioidentical hormones that you've all heard about by now, are really pharmaceutical products that are made to be identical to what your body makes when you make hormones. So when you're in your 20s and 30s and your hormones are in balance, you make a lot of estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, growth hormone, thyroid. That's when you feel great, you don't get sick, you're not at risk for heart attacks, strokes, you're fertile, and you look beautiful. And you have no wrinkles. And what happens is that as you get older, you lose those hormones. Now, putting the hormones back in is really part of the puzzle that is staying young and looking good and feeling great and preventing disease. And bioidentical or natural hormones are made from soy and yam oils through pharmaceutical processes of concentration and purification. And you can get them either FDA approved, or you can get it compounded specifically to your needs by specific compounding pharmacies. And by that I don't mean any compounding pharmacy, but specific ones. And you need a doctor who really knows what they're doing to get this done for you.
I was wondering, Elise, if you have any comments on, from your viewpoint, of what are the key food groups that you should include, to keep yourself fit and healthy.
I think that it's very important that that people realize they need balanced meals, not just limiting to one food group. That we need to really balance it. That no food is the devil. No food is not. No food group should be eliminated. It shouldn't be all carbs or all protein or no fat. Or our body needs all of these different components to stay healthy. We just need to steer clear more of like processed foods. We need to go back to the basics and eat real food. We do all organic at Skinny Buddha, we really try to make everybody understand that their body needs to balance.
And just turning to Caitlin for a second, we read about core and how important the core is to you, even in your youth, but certainly as you age out and keeping you fit. I wonder if you could comment on that.
Yes, a lot of people do all types of core exercises, and they don't realize that you don't have to just isolate the core in order to work it. So you don't have to sit there and do crunches every single night before you go to sleep. Instead, you can try to activate your trunk and do whole body movements, which is a lot of what we try to incorporate at Equinox. So something like a chest press, but we have you down on your knees, and we're having you squeeze your glutes and your abs as hard as you can while pressing out. So now you're not only working your arms and chest, but you are incorporating the whole body and getting the core.
Gene that really deals with stress. And so, as you get older, you deal with that stress in a less efficient way. And that's how people get osteoporosis, so they no longer can support the stress, the bone gets weak, and you'll see stress fractures and osteoporotic fractures. So a lot of what I see is just people getting too much stress on the body that it can't handle. So they may have gone out and they got into their CrossFit class for about 2 weeks, and everybody that lives in this area is a real type A. We're going to go for it, going right into it, right? So the problem is your body can't handle certain amounts of stress, and it needs to be very slowly given that process so that it can handle and compensate. So you really got to work out, but you got to do it in the proper way, and that's what a lot of people are talking about here.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of keeping fit and strength, and I know you're in sports marketing, Danny, but we just read about A-Rod yesterday who fractured his hand. So this can happen to all of these pro athletes. Certainly our Olympic stars are going to be facing issues like this as we enter the exciting 2 weeks of the Olympics. So I was wondering how you would comment on, in terms of trying to stay healthy, is there ever anything as too much exercise, do you think, where you can sort of push the body too far, or need to be careful of fractures, etc.?
No, I think you look at the regimen of what these Olympic athletes have. And I've been fortunate enough to kind of see the training for both Olympic athletes and NBA players, and then also for FIFA. I mean, it's a completely different set. If you're a soccer player and you're competing in the Olympics and soccer competition, you've got to be able to run for 90 minutes. You're not sprinting for 90 minutes, but you've got to be active and able to run. Whereas a couple of these sprinters, or hockey's a great example, where these guys go out and play 20-second shifts, but they're sprinting as hard as they can for 20-second shifts. So I think that, in our, when we go and we sell corporate sponsorships, we look at the alignment between what the company's brand is and what that sport brings, because every sport and all the nuances between the athletic pieces is different. And I think being able to make that tie and understanding that is really important for not only corporations but for consumers as well.
And speaking of keeping fit and strength, and I know you're in sports marketing, Danny, but we just read about A-Rod yesterday who fractured his hand. So this can happen to all of these pro athletes. Certainly our Olympic stars are going to be facing issues like this as we enter the exciting 2 weeks of the Olympics. So I was wondering how you would comment on, in terms of trying to stay healthy, is there ever anything as too much exercise, do you think, where you can sort of push the body too far, or need to be careful of fractures, etc.?
No, I think you look at the regimen of what these Olympic athletes have, and I've been fortunate enough to kind of see the training for both Olympic athletes and NBA players, and then also for FIFA. I mean, it's a completely different set. If you're a soccer player and you're competing in the Olympics and soccer competition, you've got to be able to run for 90 minutes. You're not sprinting for 90 minutes, but you've got to be active and able to run. Whereas a couple of these sprinters, or hockey's a great example, where these guys go out and play 20-second shifts, but they're sprinting as hard as they can for 20-second shifts. So I think that, in our, when we go and we sell corporate sponsorships, we look at the alignment between what the company's brand is and what that sport brings, because every sport and all the nuances between the athletic pieces is different. And I think being able to make that tie and understanding that is really important for not only corporations but for consumers as well.
Oh yeah, I think we all just looking at all the things that were happening with the Olympics and the training that our USA swimmers are going through, just blew my mind the other day when I saw some of the training exercises they went through. Literally one guy was pulling a 50-pound, a 500-pound chain across the floor or something. Just incredible. Do we have any questions from our audience about any of from any of our experts here to do with hormones or hormone replenishment, food, exercise at all?
And actually, I would like to jump in with my own question, and maybe just taking a step backward to the bigger picture. But obviously, we all know the recipe to living a healthy life as best as we're able to in terms of diet and exercise, proper sleep, everything that comes with that. I think for so many people, myself included, where we run into the problem is succumbing to temptations, and some of those temptations are addictive ones, like smokers suffer, and some are just our own little psychological needs that we build up. I'd be curious to know, one or more of the panelists, what you have found to be the most common denominator in terms of a silver bullet in terms of overcoming temptation, whether it's not going for the extra piece of cake, like I did last night, or whether it is something like staying on an exercise regimen when maybe you get a 2-week break off on vacation somewhere, you come back and you don't get back into the saddle. Is there any one or two things out there that you found that people really can use to overcome those temptations to stay on track or to get on track?
I think one very important thing is that you have to start one step at a time. Many people will say, oh, okay, January 1st is coming, I'm going to stop smoking, I'm going to stop eating dessert, and I'm going to work out 7 days a week for 2 hours each time. And that's a lot of stress on your body. We're finding that the easiest way to stop doing some of these habits that may not be the best for you is to take it in very small doses.
I see those people on January 14th.
And then the gym is no longer busy by February 1st because everyone's forgotten about it. So a great way to stick with it is to start with one little piece at a time. Once that becomes a healthy habit, then you can begin to work on the next thing that you'd like to improve.
And Erica?
I think it's really important to be kind to yourself. And I think we are really raised, all of us, regardless of generation, to be really harsh on ourselves. We really believe that if we're not skinny, if we're not in great shape, there's something wrong with us. And we got there for a reason. We got overweight because, from my perspective, of course, we got older, our hormones are out of balance, and I don't care how hard you're going to try to work out, you're going to injure yourself. If your hormones are out of balance, you're not going to be able to sleep. If you can't sleep, you're not going to have the energy to do the exercises you want to do. So it's kind of everything together. So the first thing I would say is be kind to yourself. Do not, beat yourself up because you had that piece of cake. God bless you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I tell people, and I wrote a book called The 30-Day Natural Hormone Plan, which actually goes through 30 days of how to improve your hormone balance and improve your life. And the first 2 days, and we still do it, is we tell people, pig out. Eat anything you want, because you're going to start.
I love that book.
But it works, you know what? If we were kinder to ourselves and less skeptical about being able to do well for ourselves, we would accomplish a lot more about enjoying our lives. The problem is that we live in a world where we're so trying to make things right that we don't enjoy anything. And I think that what I've learned in my long years here is that be nice to yourself, be kind to yourself, and develop self-awareness as to what's right for you and what's not right for you. Because not everybody's the same. Like I took a soul cycle class yesterday in the Hamptons with Alan Baldwin. He looked really great, and his wife looked really great. Yeah, well, he's lost a lot of weight. And the thing is, you know what? Today I was like, oh my God, I can barely move, and I'm in great shape. But the thing is, you use different parts of your body. Be kind and just balance it.
Don't set yourself up for failure, too.
Exactly.
I think that's the one. There are some things that just aren't doable, and maybe in time, and maybe over the right period of time, they are. But you have to have realistic goals about where you are. And I think you see people in their workouts, they go just like that. They go right after, and that's where they get in trouble.
Yeah, absolutely. And you would see them then, right? Then they come to you when they've done too much. How about you, Elise?
I think that we also blame ourselves a lot for giving into temptation when it's not so much mental, but a lot of times it's a physical pulling based on what we're putting into our body. So if we're giving our body things that our body isn't getting any nutrition from, then our body is telling us that we're still hungry or we need to get that nutrition from somewhere, and it's pulling us in directions that aren't really nourishing us in any productive way. So we actually we have a detox program that has been like incredibly popular, and what it does is it starts you off with just fruits and vegetables, and then we slowly add back different food groups like grains and legumes and animal protein if you're not a vegetarian. But it teaches your body to actually function the way it's supposed to function. And what we find is the sugar cravings go away, and the processed carbohydrate cravings go away. And at the end of the 5 days, nobody even wants those foods anymore because they're really not what we were meant to eat. And when we take it back to the basics and give our body what we need, then our body doesn't want all the garbage.
You know the questions, but what do you think, this is a little crazy, but Suzanne Summers, you see her on TV all the time talking about all of her things where she's, well, is she on the right track? Is she off track?
Well, I think, first of all, Suzanne Summers has done us a great service by raising awareness. And as I said before, it's about awareness. If you have the awareness, self-awareness, understanding of things, you're kind of ahead of the curve. So she's done a great job of raising awareness. But now, let's put it into perspective. She's not a physician. She's not a professional in the healthcare field. So her advice may apply to her or not. I mean, it's whatever she tells us. It's good that she raised awareness. Now take that information, see how it applies to you, and find the right person to work with. That's as far as I would go.
Excellent.
Yoga is supposed to be like the perfect exercise, and all you hear about is how great it is for your body. But there has also been recent news that yoga can also cause damage, and I was wondering if you've ever experienced this, or do you ever actually warn any of your patients about not to try too many of the extreme poses?
Yeah, and in general, it depends on what's going on, right? So in particular, like if you have a hip problem, there's some hip problems we'll see in people where the ball and socket just don't fit together perfect, right? So if you take that person and you just think in your mind, you go, well, I just got to stretch. If I stretch past this, I'm going to be fine. You actually can do more problems if you try to force that together. So your body, and everybody's a little bit different. Your body is meant to move in a particular range of motion. There's a physiologic range of motion that you're meant to go in, right? And there's some people that can push past that, and there's some people that don't. So you have to listen to your body in these sort of things. And yoga's great. It's very core-centric. It definitely, none of us, I mean, who stretches? I mean, not many people stretch, and that's when you'll start to see injuries. So you get all those things out of yoga, and it's great, but you do have to listen to your body in this. And it's important to stretch and do the most you can in yoga, but pay attention to your body and make sure you're not putting yourself in something that's painful. Right? There's a difference between pain and the little bit of soreness that I feel from a stretch, and that's a good zone to be.
Naturally, what can you add to your diet to help during menopause?
Well, clearly, during menopause, the diet becomes even more important than before menopause, and that also includes andropause for men. So this is the thing. As we get older, our bodies become, first of all, not just allergic, but unable to process the foods that we were able to process when we were in our 20s. So forget about McDonald's, we're talking about caffeine, we're talking about alcohol, we're talking about fried foods, we're talking about spicy foods. And the way to do it is to try on your own, one at a time, and see. Like a lot of women get hot flashes after drinking a glass of wine at night. So switch from red to white, or just skip it, or take one glass of water before, one glass of wine, and one glass of water again afterwards. So it's a matter of really figuring out on your own. I put together the diet that works. But again, everybody's an individual, and we don't want anybody to suffer. I don't want people feeling deprived. You want to feel empowered. You want to feel good. So increasing the amount of vegetables and fruit in your diet, decreasing the dairy amount. There is a very important book that I would recommend everybody who wants to go to sleep really better reads. It's called The China Study. It's boring because it has a lot of science in it, but it is actually an amazing book because it shows how dairy really is not the right thing, and casein, which is a protein found in dairy, increases the risk of cancer as we get older. No animal in the animal kingdom eats dairy or milk after they're done whelping. So the thing is, we eat dairy, which is not good for you. So you get rid of that as you get older. The other thing is, depending on your blood type, and I'm not a big, I do believe that Dr. Deane was correct in looking at your blood type and adjusting your diet according to blood type. So if you're an A blood type, what you want to do is really focus more on eating vegetables and fruit and less on animal products. Then you can see Food Inc. and you never eat animal products again anyway. So that kind of takes care of it. But I think it's about finding the things that work rather than the things that don't work. I love the foods that Elise was talking about before, which are, the new grains that everybody's talking, quinoa, hemp, flaxseed. They're great, and it's expanding the diet. I also agree with her 100%. You don't want to eat the same thing. You talk to people and they eat the same thing every day for 20 years. Well, no wonder you're going to get a reaction to it. Your body's not going to be able to process it. You're going to get allergic to it. So balance your diet, change your diet, but realize that your diet is, everything you put in your mouth is like medication.
The big one, I've lived in New York City, the last 13 years, and I still do, and I work up here, literally right around the corner in Greenwich, and the big thing for me was having a facility like Chelsea Piers where you could do a little bit of everything. You could go, you could play golf, you could go, you could get a run of basketball, you could go, play hockey if you've got skates. So I think kind of that, I don't know the market up here well enough to know what the demand for kind of a one-size-fits-all type of facility is. But I know in New York City it's perfect, and I'm not sure if that's something that would be, Chelsea Piers would be more transferable to a city like San Francisco than it would to kind of Fairfield County. But that's the kind of, having something that's accessible, that's easy, that you can do whatever you want to do, is something, and while still maintaining some level of speciality and some level of specificity for personal training and stuff along those lines. I think the accessibility piece, I think, is the most important, and that's what New York City gives, and that's what having like a facility like Chelsea would do.
If there are two things that you would recommend to everyone in the audience that they do in terms of exercise every day, what would those two things be?
Okay, first answer is going to be get at least 7 hours of sleep a night.
Yeah.
And the second one will be find someone who can give you an exercise program specific to yourself, rather than just going to a magazine and seeing what the new thing is, because like we've been saying, it all really is based on specificity.
Excellent, excellent. Dr. Schwartz, what are the two things you want to tell the audience about staying fit for life? Staying fit for life.
Don't be afraid. Look at life as the opportunity. Don't look at life with fear. Don't look at life with the fear that you're getting old. What are you going to do? What do you look like? Look at life with a positive attitude. And then don't worry about what somebody else has to say. Listen to what you're saying inside yourself.
Wow, great advice. Elise, what are the two things about eating to stay fit for life that you'd like to share with the group?
I think that, again, it's balance, and it's not only eating, but it's balancing the fitness and the food, and eating a balanced diet.
Excellent. Dr. Green.
So I think one, whatever you do, whatever kind of workout program you have, and if you change and do something different, do it slowly. You know, don't jump right into it. Take some time to build into it. So I think that's one thing that's important. And two, what oftentimes doesn't get talked about, you need to do some sort of weight training. So cardio is great. If you don't do weight training, unfortunately, we all lose a small percentage of body mass and muscle every year as you get older. So we're actually shriveling, unfortunately. So you have to do something to counteract that. You know, so you really do, and that builds bone, and that keeps people off all these osteoporosis medications, which, you know, they're good, they're out there, but they're all not perfect. We're starting to see fractures off some of these.
And you know what? I can just tell that you practice what you preach. You tell this guy's a weightlifter. And finally, Danny, what are your two thoughts?
No, I mean, just from our work with athletes is that, you know, if you're going to do something, it's also almost a New York City mentality. If you're going to go a mile instead of taking a cab, walk. You know, if you're going to go play golf, walk the course instead of take a cart. You know, and that's the, you know, clearly not professional opinion of mine, but you know, but you know, I know that I feel better, and the athletes that we interact with, you know, will, you know, put a gun to my head before they'll, you know, and not play with me when we go out and play golf, then take a cart, and we always have to walk. So I think that's kind of the lesson that I try to
Wow, what a great panel. Let's